Hello, my name is Danielle, and I will be making plastic canvas yarn characters. I call them yarnies because lack of a better described word for them. But today, this is my first ever tutorial that I've ever done. So I am going to start off with something simple. This is a perler bead pattern. Well, it's not a pattern, it's actually an already made creation. I'm going to show you how to turn a perler bead creation into a plastic canvas creation. It's pretty much the same pattern. It's the same, pretty much the same concept. So I'm going to start out with a simple, I say it's simple because it's simple colors and everything. But if you're not familiar with perler beads, they're little plastic beads that have holes in them that you put on a pegboard that you melt with an iron. They're also referred to as melty beads, fuse beads, nabi, spelled N-A-B-I beads. So I have our colors for our yarn. Let me set this here so you can kind of see what I'm... So here we have the body color. We have the brown for the face and the tip of the tail, the feet, and the inside of the ears. We have a dark brown for the outside of the ears. I think that's all I need that for. And then we have the blue for the eyes. And almost all need black, and I have my black. Next, you will need a needle. This is a blunt tapestry needle that I get from Walmart. They come in a 5-pack. It's less than $2. This is probably the best needle that I've ever used for plastic canvas work. They make the plastic needles, but because the yarn gets so tight as you're working with it, this is best to have a metal needle. Also, because I'm going to make this a keychain, you can either take a jump ring, which I have some, but I prefer the tiny split ring. Let's see what we can... You have to excuse my hands, I'm working on some other crafts as well. So I use these to put at the top. Alright, so let's start with our plastic canvas size. I'm going to use my needle here to help point out. Alright, to count out how big you need, I go by... I don't cut every little thing out whenever I first do it, because for starters, it's just going to be too difficult to, try to count it all out on a blank piece of canvas. So I just go ahead and make pretty much, I count down and I count across. So we will go ahead and count down, and I have a notebook that I'll write all this on. So yeah, these are patterns that I have done before. I write down what it is. I write down how many lines down. We're gonna say lines. Alright, so let's start with counting down. Now we're gonna write those Siamese kitten. So, oops. Alright, so we're going to start by counting down. So you're going to start with your first row all the way down. So go ahead and count those. So there's 25 down. And then we're going to go across, and you're going to want to make sure that you go all the way to, because see, this one is going to be one extra line, so you want to make sure you get that one as well, or you're going to be missing a piece. And this one's 22 across. So now that we have the size, we will take our canvas. This is a piece of canvas that I've already been using. Your scissors. Alright, you will need scissors too. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and count our lines. Now, let me turn this back on. So, each of the perler beads, each perler bead that you see will be, so it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. Will be each line of your plastic canvas. So you go here. This will start out as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and count out my plastic canvas and cut it out. Two. Yep. I have a pretty much scrap bucket that I throw all my trash stuff, and you're going to want to clip. You're going to want to get as close to the plastic canvas as you can. Now I have one of these. This is 25 down by 22 across. So this is going to be the rough size of the cap that I'm making. Now we're going to have 2 of these, being as I'm going to make it as a keychain. So I want it to be front and I want to have a back instead of just the front. It, just kind of makes sense to have it front and back. So I'm going to make 2 of these. Cut out 2 of these, excuse me. Alright, so we have our 2, make sure they're even, yes. We have our 2 pieces of canvas that we're going to work with. So let's set one aside. Alright, now let's get a look at our pattern. So I think that I will start with the dark brown. So, the dark brown yarn, and I think I do. I have a scrap piece. I like to keep my scrap pieces that, this is actually pretty lengthy, so I didn't want to throw it away. So I will go ahead and thread this one through, and it's not too hard to thread these with yarn, but if you have problems, they do have, I guess, like the little yarn threaders or needle threaders for, yeah. So we are going to, let me show you. You have your canvas, and you have your thing here. Let's see, this is pretty much how we're just going to size it. This is pretty much how it's going to be, because you have the lines lined up with the perler bead. So your black is going to be the outer side. So we're going to not do the outside, we're going to go inside. So that is, you want to make sure that you keep in mind the furthest part of your creation, because if you don't do that, it's going to be all off, and you're not going to get it all on your piece of canvas. So we're going to start with this part here. I like to start going up because I'm able to tuck the ends behind it, and I'll show you. So if you know how to cross stitch, this is the same concept of cross stitch. If you don't, I will try to do my best to do step by step. So remember this part, so you're gonna go 1, and since it's only 1 out, you're gonna go 2, and you're gonna count to the 3rd line. You're going to the sorry, let me get back in. You're gonna go to the 3rd line, but you also need to make sure you go down. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. So counting that, so you're counting this. Get back. So counting this. So it's going to be 6 down to start, and 3 across to start. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here, and then 1, 2, 3. So start here. Now I go from bottom to top for the most part, and you want to keep a little tail behind here and hold it. So there's your first stitch. This right here counts as 1 perler bead or melty bead. So you're pretty much looking at that bead right there. Let me point at it. This bead. We just did this brown bead right here. So let's continue on. Hold your tail. Now, because of the way I'm stitching up, I can't go back through this from bottom to top. Otherwise, it would take this stitch out. So I'm gonna go, just gonna go from the top to bottom again. And you want to tuck in your end and have it tucked in so that it won't come out. Now, of course, this isn't, the most securest way to do it, but it's the more secure way that I found to do it. And you want to make sure that you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want to make a line of 5 stitches. So it's 3, 4, and here's the 5th one. So there's all 5 right there. So now I'm going to go over and do the next 2 beside it. And you just... Now, your stitching technique may be different than mine. I am only showing you what I do. So if it works for you, it works for you. If you find a different technique works for you, then you do that. Now this is going to be a little, I'm not going to say tricky, but okay, so we have our stitching back right here. Hello. Sorry about that. I'm calling my son's phone. All right. So you kind of see what we got going on right here. So now we've got to get to this one. So we're going to have to skip. So you're going to skip 1 and then 2. So you're just going to skip 1. So you're going to start on here and it's going to go down 1. So get back in the frame here. Now, this is personal preference for me because of the way the stitching looks whenever you do it. But because I'm going to tie this off, because we don't have any more dark brown till the other side of the ear, I'm going to go through the top. Now all my stitches all go the same way, regardless of how I do it. They all are uniform. So I'm going to turn it behind here, and I'm going to just pull up some stitches from behind, and I'm going to pull it through, just pretty much to secure it, tie it off, because once you get once you get these pieces together, after you do your second piece and you get them together, these stitches aren't going anywhere. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it pretty close. So you have, that's not going in. So now we have the top ear of that, right? I'm gonna work on this ear now. Now, since this ear doesn't have any extra pieces on the other side of it, we're going to be able to just start from this side. And it is also the same 6 down. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you may want to start from here and go over here. I don't suggest that, because if you're wanting to tie down your tail, you're not really going to have very much to do. The reason why I do it like this is because I am able to just go doot, 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 and then tie it off into there. That's what works for me. This is a tutorial that, like I said, this is my very first tutorial, so I am only showing what works for me. You may have something different. So we're gonna go ahead and stitch this ear up. Now sometimes your yarn will get kind of twisted up. What I do is I just take it, stretch it out, and let it untwist itself. Again, skip one, go down. And since I'm going back this way, I'm not going to worry about going down with this way the stitching looks. So you just come back over here, pull up some stitching from behind. So that is all the dark brown we're going to be using on this side. I will do another video on flipping, but this one will be super easy to flip side because the only difference is the tail. Whenever you're doing more, I'll say, complex pieces, you will. I'm just gonna show this one. This is one I did. So this was the original pattern. And then you pretty much, I'll open this one up and show you. So you did this side, and then because you only have that side to look at, you pretty much have to, you'll have to flip it, flip the image, and you might even have that option like on your phone, iPad. You could just flip the image and then copy that image. I don't. I just pretty much look at it and just try to go backwards, which I'm probably making it a little more harder on myself, so I might actually try to see if there's an option to flip the image on my other patterns. So that was the dark brown on the ears. And I will be back, and I think I will start on the tan. Yes, we will start on the tan, this color, next.